Well, more than 500 miles of pavement have rolled under the wheels of my brand new, fast, racy road bike. And today we'll be looking at how that experience has been. And we'll be looking at the question of, hey, old guy, didn't you buy the wrong bike? Stay tuned. Well, good morning. Granny Gear here for Old Guy and a Bike. You know, not that long ago, I bought a new fast road bike. It is a 2025 Specialized Tarmac SL8 S-Works SRAM Red version. And my friends, it's been a very, very exciting bike to ride. And today in this video, I'll be talking about real briefly why I wanted something like that for an old guy like me. Well, at least I thought I did. We'll be talking about what I changed to make it more mine, how it generally has been to ride. Not an in-depth review, but just basically, am I satisfied with the decision I made? And then we'll talk about that whole idea of, well, you know what, old guy, if you're not racing, you have no business buying a race bike, well, like that Tarmac. Well, let's get to it, shall we? Now, to begin with, why would I even want a bike like that? And why the Tarmac? Well, I have two videos, and I'll link those. I'll link a couple videos at the end that go into more depth on why the Tarmac and basically what I was trying to accomplish. But briefly, a little while back, I had that Bosso SV in for testing and riding. I really enjoyed riding that. It surprised me how much I enjoyed riding that. I found that I liked that edgier performance, and even though it was still a pretty comfortable bike to ride, you know, it wasn't a full-on hard edge, make you bleed race bike. Man, it was pretty aero, pretty darn light, and very fast and very fun to ride. And I thought, son of a gun, I think I would like to have a bike like that for my very own. And I started thinking about it after the Bosso went back to, after the SV went back to Bosso and to a new owner who was actually a friend of mine. That worked out great. A fellow old guy. I started looking around and shopping and thinking, well, what would I buy if I'm going to write my own check, which I did for the Tarmac. And the Tarmac was what I chose. And there's a video you can go into why the Tarmac as opposed to other things, which there's a lot of good bikes out there. And I've been riding it ever since. And it has been quite an interesting experience. And so far, I'm very satisfied. I'll get to that in a minute. Now, to make it more mine, I wanted to change a few things. The first thing I changed was I upgraded from a 26 millimeter Specialized tire they put on there to a 32 millimeter Conti GP 5000. I like that extra volume, and for me, any reduction in aero speed is well worth the trade-off that you get for having the bigger tire. On the CLX2 rims, which aren't really that wide, I think they're 21 internal. I'm running the Tubeless with Joe's Road Leader sealant in there, and that's a great sealant. It's a favorite sealant I've ever used through all these years of running Tubeless. Affilate Link, they are a video sponsor, and yeah, love that stuff. So running Tubeless at they measure 33 millimeters wide on those 21 millimeter rims, so you know, I get a little bit there, and I'm running them at about 57 rear, 54 front PSI, and for my 180 pounds, I'm 6'2". That seems to give me a decently balanced ride. I also changed the cassette from a 1033 to a 1036 SRAM, because I need that for my old legs in this area, and I changed the crank length from a 175, which, hey, Specialized, a 175 crank on a 58 centimeter bike, seems out of touch. I changed that to a 172.5, that's my preference. And I changed the saddle from the Specialized Mirror Power Saddle to a Specialized Roman Evo Mimic. So I went from the Mirror 3D printed, which I really like the mirror part. I don't like the shape of a power saddle, never have and probably never will. Like the Roman though, and the Roman Mimic was kind of an intermediate step before I spent a lot of money, like $400 and some on a carbon railed 3D printed version of a Roman, which I might do someday. Who knows? Maybe not. The Mimic is good. Other than that, it's pretty much running it stock the way it came out of the box. So how has it been to ride? Has it met my expectations of me looking for an approachable, enjoyable, fast performance road bike for an old guy like me? Well, in a word, yes. Yes, it has. It has not just met, it has exceeded my expectations. I'm continually impressed with how this bike and really the SV and probably all the bikes in its class, but I'm riding the Tarmac. Let's talk about that. I'm continually impressed with how it turns pedal input into forward motion. It just feels so efficient. Now I can't measure that efficiency, but my goodness, it just 15, 16, 17, 18 miles an hour. I'm talking to my buddy, we're just riding down the road, and I'll think to myself, my goodness, I just feel like I'm hardly doing anything with the pedals, and it just scoots along. Now, the whole package, it's pretty aero, it's got fast tires, it's got fast wheels, and my position on it is good, and it's lovely. And when the speeds come up, when I'm over 20 miles an hour, 25, 27, 28, it is just a weapon. I mean, I'm not fast, but it's making what I got and making the best of it. And really, what more can I ask for? But at those speeds, it's lovely. Where some of the other bikes I've owned have started to really not want to play past 21, 22 miles an hour. Like, really? Tarmac is like, is that all you got? Now it climbs hills as well as you would expect a light, stiff, efficient race bike to do. It goes really, really well. I got no complaints there. I would set PRs on bikes previously. And then when I got the Bosso SV and rode it, I was eclipsing those PRs. Well, with the Tarmac, in some cases, I'm resetting those PRs one more time. And sometimes it's not just uphill, it's just even on flat rolling sections. It is a rapid bike. If you can push on the pedals, man, it goes. And when you put the beans into it, when you get up out of the saddle and you put some watts into that thing, it's just, whew, my goodness. I mean, I am the limiting factor when it comes to the Tarmac and any kind of performance. Descending on it has been much better than I thought it might be. The Bosso was very good, but very active. I never felt super confident on it. Not sure what that was about it. Didn't scare me, but I had to pay attention. Well, the Tarmac seems to be just a little bit more in my favor. It's just more steady, but still responsive. If you're on a line in a corner and you want to be not on this line but on this line, all it takes is a little body shifted weight and you're on that line. But the Tarmac doesn't go there on its own. It wants it to be your idea, not the bike's. I like that. 40 miles an hour, even on gusty winds. That bike is very, very confident descender. No complaints there. What about ride quality? Well, it's a racy bike, and I would not want to ride 100 miles of bad road on the Tarmac. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to do that on the Bosso SV. I probably wouldn't want to do that at my age on any of the bikes in its category. But that said, I've done multiple hour rides on the Tarmac. I've never come back beat up. It's slightly out of balance. I've heard other reviewers say, well, the front end is much firmer than the rear, and I agree. And I wish they were a little bit more equal. And if I could add a little softness to the front end without giving up a whole lot, I would. And I would, if I'm making wishes for the Tarmac SL9 Specialized, if you're listening, I wouldn't mind having a little bit bigger tire clearance. The Bosso was 35 millimeter measure. If I get 34 millimeter wide tire on this, I'm getting close to the frame. So would be kind of nice as road tires seem to be growing, maybe to be able to run slightly bigger tire on the Tarmac. Other than that, I've been very happy with the speed, the performance, the descending, climbing, comfort. The fit for me is really good. And so other than those two things I might change, I don't think I'd change a thing. Nice job, Specialized. That is truly the bike that I'd hoped it was going to be. But now let's talk about the other part of this video, and that is, why did I buy the wrong bike, according to, well, some people? You might have heard it said, I've heard it said, I read it, that 75% of the people out there should be buying this for a road bike, and they'll point to like an endurance bike or an all-road bike, maybe even a light gravel bike. And I had to think to myself, well, I don't know where that number really comes from. Somebody's pulling that out of their hat, shall we say. However, let's not argue with it. Let's say that's true. Well, that probably means I'm a 25%er because that bike's working for me. Now, let's just leave that where it is. So somebody's got to be the 25%er. Maybe it's me, but I'm probably outside of what most people would think of the age of a rider who want to ride a bike like this. But then the other day, I was watching a podcast, a video podcast on YouTube. Two young guys I like to watch, really nice podcasts, and they're kind of racery guys. And it said, Well, if you're not racing, you have no business buying a bike like the Tarmac. You don't say. Well, let me ask you this. If I'm in our old group of older riders, 30 of us, maybe half a dozen of us, that's a 5-mile climb, and we're trying to get to the top if we can before the others do. And so we're doing the best we can as older riders to rip each other's old legs off. Am I racing? How about when I'm on the Pacific Coast Highway and I'm running along and it's a nice flat road and the group breaks up a little bit, and I kind of want to be in that group, but I get boxed in, and by the time I'm clear to move over, they've gapped me a little bit. So I swing out into the wind on the Tarmac and I put some watts in and I bridge that and I close that gap and I get to the group I want to be in. Am I racing? Well, I'm not racing in that no one's paying me, and I'm not racing in the sense that there's no medal at the end of it other than my own satisfaction. But the attitude is racing, isn't it? What's going on in my head and what my body feels kind of feels like racing. So if I'm an older rider and yet I'm not signing up for some event, no one's paying me, and yet part of my cycling experience is enjoying the performance of something like that Tarmac gives me when I push on the pedals hard or I point it down some winding canyon road. Can't imagine why I wouldn't want to do that. And why would I ride some other bike that doesn't give me that experience? I may be old and retired, but I'm not dead yet. For instance, look at my party shirt. This is the guys from Party Shirt International. They set me up with this pretty awesome long sleeve sun shirt full of flamingos, and is it bright enough for you? Probably need to reset the camera lens because it's probably overwhelming the camera. Anyway, here's a little story for you. I was on the death ride and I'm on the very first climb up this mountain pass, just kind of spinning along, and I come up next to this lady cyclist. She's an older lady, probably my age or so. I'm not going to guess too much because, that's rude to do that. But she had the look of a very experienced road rider, and she happened to be riding the exact same Tarmac model that I had just ordered, but I didn't have mine yet. Same color and everything, SRAM red, S-Works. And I pull up alongside her and we get to talking, and I said, "How do you like your Tarmac?" She looks over at me and she says, "It's my favorite bike I've ever owned." And the guy that bought the Basso SV, that friend of mine, every time he rides that bike, I think he's 71, he says he loves it more and more. 25%ers, I guess. Next time you're riding down the road, you're coming down the highway somewhere and you hear somebody call out, "On your left," do me a favor, will you? Move over a little bit more to the right than you maybe normally would have, because it could be some old guy or some old gal looking to pass you, and our eyesight isn't what it used to be. You guys have a great week and or weekend, and as always, go ride your bikes.